I've been watching a bunch of reviews on this, and it seems like reviewers are gushing about how good it is, but they're not really talking about what's bad about it. I ran into some issues and I had to figure it all out, so I'm going to save you the trouble. Let's start with the crown jewel of this thing, the screen. It's a 720 by 720 1:1 square aspect ratio. That's what really makes this unique, and because it's 720p, games from Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Sega Game Gear, Pico 8 are all perfect for this, and it's incredible. You can also make it pixel perfect and fill up the screen using integer scaling, and I'll show you how to do that later in the video as well. If you're not familiar with Pico 8, it's basically an app that allows people to code their own games. So if you use the Wi-Fi function on this, you can go into Pico 8 and search thousands of games that people have made, or you can hook a keyboard up to this and code your own. Another benefit to this screen that you probably wouldn't think about because it's square is that it works very well with vertical aspect games. So you can see here I'm playing Truxton and it looks gorgeous. And the Nintendo DS emulator is perfect for this device because you have your two screens and there's enough room so you can still play just fine, and you can play full screen if you want. This uses an RK3566 chip that's been used by Powkiddy in the past, and it's proven to perform really well. So all your retro games, all the way up to and including PlayStation 1, will work really well with this. And it'll also play most games from N64, Sega Saturn, Sega Dreamcast, so having the ability to play most of those on the go with joysticks for 90 bucks is amazing. But unfortunately, my model came with an R2 button that's not working very well, and I tried playing Twisted Metal 2 on PlayStation and Crazy Taxi 2 on Sega Dreamcast, and they didn't work very well at all. But I don't think that's very common. I think that these generally do work very well, so if you order one, I think you'll be fine. But just make sure if you do purchase one of these, you might want to make sure that you have some buyer protection, such as PayPal. Luckily, the people over at MECHdiy sent me this handheld for review, and they do accept PayPal. And every time I've gone on their website, they've had some kind of sale on. So add them to your list because you might get some really good deals here. And as you can see, they were nice enough to send me over a carrying case with a screen protector and some wipes to clean your screen before you put that on. And the carrying case is made specifically for this handheld, so it fits in there nice and snug, and it has a little pouch so you can put your charger in while you're out. Your volume up and down buttons are reversed, so if you want to increase the volume, you have to press the left button, and then you have your reset and power button. And a mini HDMI out, so you can hook this up to a normal HDMI port on a TV or monitor. Just keep in mind that on the output side, you'll need an adapter for mini HDMI or a special cable. Admittedly, the D-pad's not really good on this. It has that problem where if you go left and right, you might crouch sometimes when you don't mean to. And you can fix this with tape, but overall it's not that bad. I'm probably not even going to change mine because it doesn't bother me too much, but if you're looking for real accuracy, you might want to look up that tape mod. The buttons on this have the classic Nintendo layout with A being on the right side, but they're not rounded, so they do have a bit of a hard edge, so if you're a thumb roller like me, your thumb might hit off the edge of the button sometimes. But they're pretty good, and I haven't had any issues myself. It comes with two joysticks, which are similar to Nintendo Switch, and I found these to be pretty good. They can be pretty sensitive sometimes, but for 90 bucks, they're really good quality, and they'll do you just fine out on the go. But if you're into modding these devices, you can switch them out yourself if you like. I think the sound on this is awesome. It's definitely a lot better than the Powkiddy V90. They improved their sound a lot. Across the bottom you have two USB-C ports, one for charging and one for externals. You have two micro SD slots and a headphone jack. Now when I first heard about this thing, I was thinking, why would it have two SD card slots? I don't understand. And the reason why is because there's a 16 gigabyte card on the left side for the software and the emulators, and the card on the right is for you to load up with games. And if you've been watching this channel, you know that I like to build my own game libraries with my own micro SD cards. But in this case, it's different. I think it's worth actually getting both the cards with this thing, because the software that comes with this and all the games that's included on the second card are awesome. So you're essentially getting a lot of good value for your money, but it is essentially just a plastic block. So you can see here, I can just stand it up on the table and it's fine because it's literally just a brick. It's not ergonomic at all. And even though no one's really saying it, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, it's not very comfortable. When I'm holding it right now, I can tell that the bottom corners are kind of digging into my palms, and this back edge here is going across my fingers. If it was a little more rounded, it would be more comfortable. Now, I'm going to go over some very helpful tips with this. When you power this up for the first time, hit the start button to access the main menu and then go down to network settings. This is where you can connect to Wi-Fi, so make sure you enable the network and then select your Wi-Fi network and then enter the password and you're good to go. Then in the main menu, go back up to system settings and then scroll all the way down until you can see start update, because they're updating it all the time and it's really good. After the update's finished, you might get a black screen. And I'm putting this black screen into the ugly category because this happened to me and it has happened to people online that I've read about as well. All that's basically happened here is the brightness has gone down to 0. So the screen is on, you can just barely see it. So this might sound a bit crazy, but what you have to do is use a flashlight and shine it at the screen on an angle so you can see the words, and then hit start to access the main menu, and then hit down on the D-pad twice to get the system settings, and then hit down on the D-pad 5 times. You should be able to see brightness, turn the brightness up a notch, and you shouldn't ever have to do that again. This is just a one-time thing after the update. There's a bunch of things you can do to make the games look incredibly good on the screen, but I'm going to go over a big one that you should do for most systems. So to access this feature, just hit start to go into the main menu, and at the top go into game settings, and at the bottom of the game settings list you should see per system advanced configuration, and here's where you can see all your game systems. So if you go into Game Boy, for example, if you scroll down to the bottom, you can see integer scaling. Turn that to on and your games will fill up the screen and they'll look really sharp. Now here's something that I found really annoying. This supposedly has Bluetooth connection, and I've seen people online use controllers that are Bluetooth and it worked just fine with this. I tried both modes on the controller that you can connect the Bluetooth to this and it just was not working. I also tried 2 different types of Xbox Bluetooth controllers and the console wouldn't pick those up either. There is another option that you can do to get around that Bluetooth issue, and that's to install custom firmware on this from the community. Now, not all games have a square ratio. You can see I was trying to play Donkey Kong Country, and I had these overlays or bezels on the top and the bottom, and these were turned on automatically straight out of the box, but for me, I didn't want them on. I just wanted the black border around the game, and I didn't have a clue how to turn them off, so I'm going to show you how to do that now. So when you're on the main menu, just hit B and a guide will pop up. If you scroll down to the bottom, you should see Tools. Under Tools towards the bottom, you should see 2 versions of RetroArch, 32-bit and 64-bit. Just go into those and you should be at the RetroArch main menu. Just go down to settings and over to your right you should see user interface. The first option in user interface is on-screen display, and then go down to on-screen overlay and you'll be able to turn the display overlay off. Once you have that turned off, just back out to the main menu of RetroArch again, and to the right of the main menu you can scroll down and select quit RetroArch. It's also worth noting that the community is creating free customized bezels that you can download and put on here as well. If you want to use shortcuts to do things really quickly, if you hold select and hit R2, you can fast forward through the game and then hit R2 again to go back to normal speed. If you hold select and hit R1, you'll save your state, and you can load your state by holding select and hitting L1. If you want to get into the RetroArch menu while you're in a game, just hold select and then hit X. If you want to quit a game, you can hit select and start at the same time, and then hit select and start a second time and it'll quit out of the game. Something that I thought was really handy was when I was in a console, instead of scrolling through the long list, you can hit select and you can jump to games beginning with letters. So if you want to play Pac-Man on the arcade, for example, just select P and then you'll jump right to where the games are to start with the letter P. You can also add a game to your favorites by hitting X. And if you found this helpful, you should definitely check out my other handheld reviews. But as always, thanks for tuning in and I'll see you in the next one.